Becoming a multiplanetary species, the next great leap, the fork in history, introduction, 2 paths forward. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Today, I want to talk about something that, honestly, I think matters more than anything else, the future. Not next year, not the next decade, but the deep future, the future of consciousness itself. When we zoom out far enough, like way out, you realize humanity's standing at a pretty wild moment, a kind of fork in history, 2 paths that go in completely different directions. The first path is simple. We stay on Earth forever, we never leave. And if that's the path we take, then eventually, not today, not tomorrow, but inevitably, something ends us. It could be a massive asteroid, supervolcano, runaway climate change, a war using weapons we haven't even invented yet, or some engineered virus that gets out of control. The list is long. And over a long enough timeline, extinction is basically guaranteed. The second path, the one I think we have to take, is to become a spacefaring civilization, a multiplanetary species. That's the path of life, the path of expansion, of waking up every morning excited for the future, a future where our descendants can look up at the night sky and know they can actually go there. I think that's the future worth fighting for. Everything we're doing at SpaceX, and honestly, the reason for this talk is to make that second path possible. Not in some distant science fiction sense, but in our lifetimes. The goal isn't just to plant a flag or leave a few footprints and say, we did it. It's to build a self-sustaining city on another planet, one that can grow, evolve, and become its own world. That's when humanity truly becomes multiplanetary. Now, why does this matter so much? Because for the first time in Earth's 4.5 billion year history, life actually has the ability to extend itself beyond this planet. That window of opportunity might stay open for a long time, or it might close soon. We really don't know. But what we do know is that we have a duty, a moral responsibility to act while it's open, to keep the light of consciousness burning, the great filter and the cosmic silence. To understand why this mission is so urgent, we have to look beyond our solar system into the silence of the cosmos. Enrico Fermi, a brilliant physicist, once asked a simple but chilling question: where is everybody? It's now called the Fermi paradox. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our galaxy alone has maybe 400 billion stars, and there are hundreds of billions of other galaxies out there. Statistically, there should be thousands, maybe millions of intelligent civilizations. Some of them should be way ahead of us. If that's true, they should have colonized the entire galaxy by now. But we see nothing. No signals, no starships, no megastructures, just silence. One possible reason for that silence is something called the Great Filter, a kind of invisible wall that life almost never makes it past. Somewhere between the spark of life and a civilization that can spread across the stars, there's a barrier that stops almost everything. The big question is, where is that filter? There are 3 possibilities. 1, maybe the filter is behind us, meaning life itself is insanely rare, and we've already made it past. In that case, we might be the only intelligent species in the galaxy. If that's true, then we carry an unbelievable responsibility on 2. Maybe we're the first, the universe only recently became friendly to intelligent life, and we're among the pioneers. 3. Or, and this is the scary one, maybe the filter is ahead of us. Maybe lots of civilizations reach our level, but something, maybe their own technology, destroys them before they can expand. We can't afford to assume it's behind us. If the evolution to this point wasn't astronomically rare, then the barrier must still be in front of us. Which means most civilizations die before they get off their home planet. That's why becoming multiplanetary isn't just a cool idea, it's survival. It's the test. If we can build a self-sustaining city on Mars, we'll have passed one of the biggest filters in the universe. That's the moment we can say, with some confidence, that consciousness has a future. The great filter and the cosmic silence. To understand why this mission is so urgent, we have to look beyond our solar system into the silence of the cosmos. Enrico Fermi, a brilliant physicist, once asked a simple but chilling question: where is everybody? It's now called the Fermi paradox. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our galaxy alone has maybe 400 billion stars, and there are hundreds of billions of other galaxies out there. Statistically, there should be thousands, maybe millions of intelligent civilizations. Some of them should be way ahead of us. If that's true, they should have colonized the entire galaxy by now. But we see nothing. No signals, no starships, no megastructures, just silence. One possible reason for that silence is something called the Great Filter, a kind of invisible wall that life almost never makes it past. Somewhere between the spark of life and a civilization that can spread across the stars, there's a barrier that stops almost everything. The big question is, where is that filter? There are three possibilities. One, maybe the filter is behind us, meaning life itself is insanely rare, and we've already made it past. In that case, we might be the only intelligent species in the galaxy. If that's true, then we carry an unbelievable responsibility on two. Maybe we're the first, the universe only recently became friendly to intelligent life, and we're among the pioneers. 3. Or, and this is the scary one, maybe the filter is ahead of us. Maybe lots of civilizations reach our level, but maybe their own technology destroys them before they can expand. We can't afford to assume it's behind us. If the evolution to this point wasn't astronomically rare, then the barrier must still be in front of us. Which means most civilizations die before they get off their home planet. That's why becoming multiplanetary isn't just a cool idea, it's survival. It's the test. If we can build a self-sustaining city on Mars, we'll have passed one of the biggest filters in the universe. That's the moment we can say, with some confidence, that consciousness has a future. A litany of risks. The insurance policy for life being multiplanetary is basically an insurance policy for life itself. You don't buy house insurance because you expect it to burn down tomorrow. You buy it because there's a small chance it could, and the consequences would be catastrophic. Right now, humanity is living in one house, Earth, and there are a lot of ways it could go up in flames. We have the natural risks. The asteroid or supervolcano that wiped out the dinosaurs could do the same to us. I've said before, a big rock will hit Earth eventually, and right now we have no defense. NASA's DART mission, which flew on a Falcon 9, was an awesome first step, and yeah, I tweeted, avenge the dinosaurs, but that's just the beginning. Then there are the man-made risks, things the dinosaurs didn't have to deal with, engineered viruses, nuclear war, the kind of stuff that could reset civilization overnight. And now we face a new kind of risk, one I think about a lot, artificial intelligence. AI could be one of the biggest threats to humanity. For the first time ever, we're creating something that will be smarter than us. Intelligence is the one advantage humans have over other species. If we lose that edge, we're in unknown territory. And AI is moving fast, faster than most people realize. Any one of these risks alone is enough reason to act. All of them together make it a moral imperative. We have to act, we have to build a backup for life itself, the only viable choice. So if we agree that we have to go, that staying on one planet forever is a bad long-term strategy, then the next question is where? To figure that out, we can't just guess. We have to think from first principles, like in physics, break it down to the basics and reason it out from there. When we look around the solar system, there actually aren't that many options. It's kind of surprising. Let's start with our neighbors, Venus. It sounds beautiful, the morning star, right? But yeah, Venus is basically hell. The surface pressure is 90 times Earth's. It rains acid, and it's hot enough to melt lead. You can maybe live up in the clouds, about 50 kilometers high, where the pressure is lower. Floating cities, cool idea. But the surface, totally uninhabitable. And those cloud cities would be cut off from resources. So Venus, not going to work. Mercury, way too close to the sun. Wild temperature swings, insane radiation, and no atmosphere. So also a no. Then we've got the outer moons like Europa, Titan, and Enceladus. They're super interesting, probably have subsurface oceans, even potential for life. But they're so far away years of travel, harsh radiation, and extreme cold. Not ideal for starting civilization number 2. So really we're left with 2 main candidates, the Moon and Mars. A good start, but not the destination now. Don't get me wrong, going back to the Moon is awesome. SpaceX is actually working with NASA on the Artemis program, and Starship's going to land the next astronauts there. That's amazing. But the Moon isn't where we can build a self-sustaining civilization. It's great for testing, not for thriving. Here's why. First, it's small, airless, and missing some pretty important stuff. There's almost no carbon dioxide or nitrogen, and without those, you can't grow food. You'd have to bring almost everything from Earth, and that's just not sustainable. Second, the day-night cycle. A day on the Moon lasts 28 Earth days. That means 2 weeks of blazing sunlight, then 2 weeks of freezing darkness. Good luck running solar power or growing crops like that. And third, it's too close. Which sounds nice, right? But if something really bad ever happens on Earth, like a nuclear war or a global pandemic, the Moon wouldn't be safe. It's basically still in Earth's backyard. So yeah, the Moon is an amazing training ground, but it's not the destination. Why Mars is the overwhelming winner? That brings us to Mars. Mars isn't perfect, far from it, but it's the only place that actually checks the boxes. It's like a fixer-upper planet, but with good bones. Gravity? About 38% of Earth's. That's enough to keep your muscles and bones healthy, but low enough to make construction way easier. And it'd be fun. You could literally jump around carrying heavy stuff like it's nothing. Day length, almost identical to Earth, 24.5 hours. That's huge. Our biology, our sleep cycles, they'd all adapt easily. Atmosphere, it's thin, yeah, but mostly carbon dioxide, which is actually great for plants. You compress that air a little, and you can grow crops. Plus, CO2 is the main ingredient for making methane fuel. Water, there's a ton of ice just beneath the surface, especially in the higher latitudes. So we've got everything we need: water to drink, oxygen to breathe, and fuel to fly back home. And the long-term potential, this is the exciting part, is terraforming. We know Mars used to have rivers, lakes, even oceans. If we can warm it up and release the gases trapped in the ice and rock, we can thicken the atmosphere again. That's a long project, maybe hundreds of years, but totally possible. And yeah, when I say nuke Mars, it's just a shorthand for adding energy to the system, not, literally nuking the place. So if you step back and look at all of this from first principles, the conclusion's pretty clear. Mars isn't just the best option, it's the only viable one. Let's do a quick side-by-side comparison just to make it obvious. Earth perfect, obviously. 1G of gravity, 24-hour days, breathable air, tons of resources. The Moon, gravity is 16% of Earth. A day there lasts about a month, 2 weeks of light, 2 weeks of dark. No air, no water. Super hard to survive. Venus, about 50 kilometers up. Gravity's close to Earth's. Yeah, but the air is poison, and the days last 117 Earth days. You really don't want to live there. Mars, 38% gravity, 24.5-hour days. Air full of carbon dioxide for plants, water, ice, nitrogen, and long-term, you can actually terraform it. So yeah, when you look at it that way, Mars wins every time. That's why when we talk about becoming a multi-planetary species, it's not just a dream or some sci-fi idea. It's the only logical path forward. The physics says it, the biology agrees, and the math checks out. If we want to secure the future of life, if we want humanity to survive and thrive for the next million years, Mars is the way. The architecture of an impossible dream. So we've talked about why we need to go and where we should go. Now the question is how, because honestly that's the hard part. If you just say, okay, we'll build a city on Mars, it sounds amazing, but when you actually start calculating what that takes, it's kind of crazy. Why rockets were always the problem. For most of space history, the problem hasn't been technology, it's been cost. Right now, launching anything into orbit costs tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. That's like trying to build a city by sending every brick up with a golden helicopter. It's not sustainable. To make a self-sustaining civilization on Mars, you need to move millions of tons of cargo, not just a few astronauts and a flag. That means we have to make spaceflight radically cheaper. If that doesn't happen, nothing else matters. So the fundamental question becomes, how do we reduce the cost of getting to orbit by a factor of 100 or even 1,000. And that's where reusability comes in. The airplane analogy, if every time you flew on an airplane, they threw the airplane away after one flight, tickets would cost millions of dollars. Only governments and billionaires could afford to fly. That's exactly what rockets were like for decades. We'd spend hundreds of millions building this incredibly complex machine, launch it once, and then watch it explode or burn up on re-entry. It made no sense. So the first thing we needed to do was build rockets that can land themselves and then fly again. That's what Falcon 9 was all about. The proof of the possible, when we first proposed the idea of landing a rocket vertically, people thought it was impossible, like actually impossible. But we went for it anyway. We blew up a lot of rockets. You can see the highlight reel on YouTube. It's entertaining, but each failure taught us something. And then one day, it worked. The booster came back, landed upright, and the crowd at Mission Control went absolutely wild. That moment changed everything. It proved that reusability was real, and that you could land and reuse rockets the same way airplanes land and refuel. Falcon 9 became the first orbital-class rocket capable of reflight, and today some boosters have flown more than 20 times. Each one of those flights cuts the cost dramatically. But even with all that progress, Falcon 9 isn't enough to build a city on Mars. For that, we need something far bigger. Enter Starship, building the next great machine. That's where Starship comes in. Starship is designed to be fully reusable, both stages. It's the largest, most powerful rocket ever built, and the only one designed to carry up to 100 people at once. It's kind of like if the Saturn V and a 747 had a baby, and that baby could fly to Mars. The goal is to make the cost per ton to orbit about the same as the cost of shipping by truck, maybe a few $100s. If we can do that, we unlock the entire solar system. And the beauty of it is that Starship isn't just a rocket, it's a system. The booster, called Super Heavy, lifts Starship into orbit. Then Starship refuels in orbit using tanker ships like gas stations in space. Once it's topped off, it can go anywhere. The Moon, Mars, even further. That's how you make interplanetary travel actually practical. The engineering mindset, first principles, and iteration. Now, people often ask, why do you keep blowing up prototypes? And the answer is simple. That's how you learn fast. At SpaceX, we don't design the perfect rocket on paper and then spend 10 years trying to build it. We build, test, fail, learn, and do it again. Rapid iteration is how evolution works, and engineering is just applied evolution. Every explosion, every test, every landing teaches us something. That's how Starship's getting better so fast. We've already done high-altitude flights, soft landings, and now we're moving to full orbital tests. Each one brings us closer to the dream. The goal, making life multiplanetary. When people ask, what's the point? The answer is simple. This is about ensuring the future of consciousness. It's about giving all life a chance to survive and thrive beyond Earth. If something happens here, life continues somewhere else. But even more than that, it's about the future being exciting. Like, you want to wake up in the morning and feel that the future is going to be better, that there are new frontiers to explore. That's what makes life worth living. If we can make life multiplanetary, if we can look up at the night sky and know that somewhere out there there's a city on Mars, then I think that's a future worth fighting for. Engineering a future for 1 million people on Mars. So let's imagine for a second we've built Starship, we've figured out how to launch, land, and reuse it 1,000 times. Now comes the real challenge, the one that's honestly way harder. How do you build a city on another planet? Like a real one, with homes, power, farms, schools, everything. Not a science base, not a few astronauts, a city, the scale of the mission. To make life truly self-sustaining on Mars, you need about 1 million people. That's not a random number, it's just what physics and logistics demand. Because if something bad ever happens to Earth, Mars has to be able to survive on its own. That means you need all the skills, industries, and ecosystems that make civilization work. Engineers, doctors, teachers, artists, farmers, coders, everyone. So, yeah, it's not just a few ships and a flag. It's millions of tons of cargo, thousands of flights, decades of effort. But the thing is, once the system's built, once Starship is flying regularly, it becomes possible. You just keep sending ships like trains across the Atlantic in the old days. At first it's hard, then it's routine, then it's history, building from the ground up. So what does a Mars city actually look like? Well, the first settlers, the pioneers, will live in pressurized domes or underground habitats. You'll have solar panels everywhere, life support systems, and massive greenhouses. Water will come from the ice just beneath the surface. We can melt it, purify it, split it into hydrogen and oxygen for fuel, for breathing, for everything. Food will start small, hydroponics, algae, maybe lab-grown meat, but over time you'll have real farms using Martian soil enriched with nutrients we bring or create. We'll use in situ resource utilization. It just means use what's there. Carbon dioxide from the air, water from the ice, and minerals from the ground. Turn all of that into steel, fuel, plastics, glass, even concrete. Mars becomes a construction site for civilization too. Powering the new world now. Power is everything. Without power, nothing works. At first, we'll use solar, lots of it. Mars gets about half the sunlight of Earth, so we'll need big solar farms and battery storage for the nights. Over time, we'll add small nuclear reactors, clean, compact, efficient. That gives you steady energy through the dust storms. Eventually, you combine both solar for abundance, nuclear for reliability. That's your foundation for a growing city. Transportation and infrastructure, then there's transport, because a planet without roads is just rock. Inside the city, we'll use electric rovers, maybe even tunnels, kind of like the Boring Company, but on Mars. Between settlements, you'll have pressurized rail systems or Hyperloop-style tubes, so you can travel across Mars comfortably, even in a storm. And Starship will keep running, ferrying cargo, equipment, and people between Earth and Mars every 26 months when the planets align. It'll be like an interplanetary ferry system. Breathing, living, and thriving. One of the first things we'll have to engineer is the atmosphere, not terraforming right away, but just making enclosed, breathable environments. Over centuries, we could slowly warm the planet, thicken the air, and eventually step outside without a suit. That's the long-term dream, a green Mars with rivers and skies. But before that, we'll have thriving domes, glass and steel cities under crimson skies. People working, playing, raising families. Kids born on Mars who've never seen Earth, who look up and think we came from there. That's when you know humanity's truly become multiplanetary. The economics of a Mars civilization. Now, you might ask, how does that even pay for itself? Good question. At first, it doesn't. Early missions will be funded by governments, private investment, maybe tourism. But over time, a Mars economy will emerge. Energy, research, manufacturing, data, and eventually exports of technology back to Earth. Innovation tends to follow the frontier. So Mars could become a hub for robotics, AI, biotech, because survival there demands the best of everything. And of course, the biggest export of all, hope. A sense that humanity is still pushing forward. The spirit of the pioneers, the first people to go, will be brave. They'll risk their lives. It's dangerous, it's hard, and it's not for everyone. But the same was true for the explorers who crossed oceans, or climbed Everest, or built the first airplanes. Every great leap in history started with people who refused to stay comfortable. And I really believe there are millions of people out there who volunteer for that. Not because it's easy, but because it means something. The future we can build. So when I talk about building a city on Mars, it's not science fiction. It's just engineering and determination applied over time. We have the technology, we have the physics, we have the reason. All we need is the will. Imagine standing on the surface of Mars, watching the first sunrise from another world, 2 moons in the sky, a thin blue glow on the horizon. And knowing we did this, that's not just survival, that's the next chapter of life itself. The philosophy of a multiplanetary civilization, sometimes people ask, why are you doing all this? Why Mars? And my answer is simple, because we have to. Because if life is something precious, and I believe it is, then we have a moral duty to protect it. Not just human life, all life. Earth, the cradle. Not the cage, I love Earth. It's the most beautiful planet we've ever seen. It's home. And everything we know, every song, every story, every person you've ever loved, all of it happened here. But if history teaches us anything, it's that staying in one place forever is how species go extinct. The dinosaurs didn't have rockets. We do. So becoming a multiplanetary species isn't about leaving Earth behind. It's about making sure Earth lives on. Earth should be the garden of the solar system, a place we protect, cherish, and keep thriving. When we move heavy industry off-world, when we can harvest energy and materials from other planets or asteroids, Earth can finally rest. It can breathe again. We're not escaping. We're preserving. Building the tools that build the future, the technologies we're creating for Mars, energy systems, life support, recycling, sustainable farming, all of that will make life on Earth better too. Closed-loop systems, carbon capture, efficient food production, these are exactly what we need to solve climate change and resource scarcity here at home. Space is not a distraction from Earth's problems. It's the laboratory where we learn how to solve them, the meaning of the mission. But beyond the science, beyond the economics, there's something deeper. It's about meaning. It's about that feeling when you wake up and you're excited for the future. If all we do is fight over resources or build slightly better phones every year, that's not inspiring. That's not what moves humanity forward. We need to be a civilization that looks outward, that does things because they're hard and beautiful and worth doing. When you look up at the night sky and see those little points of light, and you know that one of them, Mars, has human beings living and working there, something changes in your mind. The universe feels alive again. The light of consciousness at the deepest level, that's what this is really about, consciousness. This tiny spark of awareness that can look out into the cold universe and ask why. As far as we know, it exists only here on the small blue world, and that makes it unbelievably precious. The universe is mostly dark, mostly empty, and yet, for a brief moment, consciousness has emerged, the ability to dream, to create, to love, to ask questions. We have a duty, maybe the highest duty there is, to keep that light burning, to carry it to new worlds, to make sure it doesn't go out, a call to the dreamers. And so if you're watching this, if you're a student, a builder, an engineer, or just someone who still believes in the future, this mission is for you. Study hard. Learn physics, engineering, biology. Learn how the universe works. Be curious, be useful, take risks, join companies that are pushing boundaries, or start your own. Do something that matters. Because the truth is, the people who build the future are just ordinary people who refuse to wait for permission. The next great adventure, when I look ahead, when I picture our ships landing on Mars, our children growing up under a pale orange sky, I don't see it as science fiction. I see it as the next logical step in the story of life. And it's happening now. We are the generation that decides whether life becomes multiplanetary or stays confined to one fragile world. I think we should choose the stars. Because someday, maybe millions of years from now, when someone on another world looks up and wonders where they came from, they'll trace their origins back here to us, to the moment when a species on a tiny planet decided to light a candle in the dark and carry that light to the heavens. That's what this is all about. Not rockets, not fame, not money, but the simple, profound goal of keeping the light of consciousness alive. Thank you.